Welcome, beautiful friends, to the Way of Mastery. Lesson number 6, love heals all things. Wow. The one prescription we need for any and everything, love. Thing is, we don't have a clue what love is. We've learned about human love in the world. We've learned about all kinds of things of love. Don't we love shoes sometimes? But that's different than how we love our children. And that's really different than how we love someone else's child who happens to be staying over for the weekend. And how about how we love current spouses versus ex-spouses? Whew. Man, I mean, you could do a whole catalog on the kinds of love. And I guess now they've got all kinds of texting abbreviations. It's kind of like the Eskimos. They had like 60 names for snow. We've got like many, many varieties for love. But the love that Jeshua was talking about in this lesson is divine love. It's love without an opposite. It's not something that you turn on or off or you turn brighter or dimmer. It just is. And that's one of the things we come to realize when we awaken is that divine love is truly all there is. It really doesn't have an opposite. But that's what it's going to take us to in this lesson tonight. Last week we deepened the first third of it. Tonight we're going to do the middle third. But just to refresh a couple things, in this lesson he introduces his definition for love. Love allows all things. Love accepts all things. Love trusts all things. Love embraces all things. Therefore, love is transcendent. So if you take that simple definition and you apply it to any of our love that we learned in the world, we already recognize our love doesn't match up because our love doesn't accept all things. Our love doesn't want to embrace all things. Our love doesn't trust all things, especially the other ones who were questionable about their love for us. So he's really trying to completely shift us out of the worldly concept of love to the love that he spoke about when he walked the world 2,000 years ago when he said, God is love. So we really have to kind of unwind ourselves from all our beliefs about it and be open to the revelation of kind of what divine love is like. For those of you that are new here tonight, you can like what I have to say or not. I don't have a clue what's going to come. Every time these things start, I simply tune in and channel love, and it's what it is. You're welcome to like it. If it's helpful for you, use it. If not, just throw it out. You don't need to beat it up. Just throw it away and go find something that does work for you. If you need to get up and move about or leave, you're certainly welcome to do that. You ready, Cindy? So we'll start tonight with the pathway axioms. In the first 4 lessons, Jeshua kind of set the foundation for these 35, 36 lessons that he channeled in the Way of Mastery. And by the way, he channeled these through an audio channel. So they are originally tape recorded. We play the audios every time we go to a new lesson, and then we do this deepening. But in the first 4 lessons, he put down the 4 cornerstones of this pathway in axioms, and an axiom is just kind of a starting point for a logical argument. But here we go, Cindy.
I am created as my Father created me to be. I am free, and nothing sources my experience but me in each moment. Nothing has an effect on me whatsoever, save that which I choose to allow to affect me. I need do nothing. I do not live any ordinary moments. With each breath, my experiences are the stepping stones laid before me of God to guide me home. Therefore, I will bring awareness to each moment and allow it to teach me how to forgive, how to embrace, how to love, and therefore, how to live fully. The only relationship which holds any value at all is your relationship with God, your creative source. And the keys to the kingdom: desire, intention, allowance, and surrender. Love. Love allows all things, accepts all things, trusts all things, embraces all things, and is therefore transcendent of all things.
Thank you, honey. I'm not sure we'll be adding much more to that throughout the rest of the pathway. I think he's let us have it. So number 1 tonight, I'm going to talk about save that which I choose to affect me. We all have a very deep investment in what we perceive other people are doing that is causing us to be in distress. They made me do that. You made me do it. My mother did this 20 years ago. The IRS, the terrorists, whatever. We have a laundry list of things that we put blame on for what our states of being are. And we give a long laundry list of things, the ability to shift us out of a state of peace in an instant. In an instant, we hear a song that reminds us of our first heartbreak, bam, peace gone. We sit down and watch the news and we hear a heart-wrenching story of something overseas, bam, peace gone. The point he's making here is we don't have to surrender our peace in any moment under any circumstance. You know, his greatest example of that was at the end on the cross when he said, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." He didn't respond to their attack with attack. But we really have to come into absolute self-responsibility that nothing is sourcing our experience, our inner experience, except us. All kinds of things may be happening around us, but unless we choose to react to those with a loss of peace, you don't have to. I mean, we've made a whole institution of celebrating death. When a body dies, we're all supposed to feel guilty. We're supposed to wear black. We're supposed to be forlorn. We're supposed to make a casserole and go over to a wake or something. The point is, all of that is simply a habitually learned behavior within a world of fear. You don't have to ever choose to go with what the world has taught you. Ever. You can be Pollyanna if you wish and simply be happy and not allow anything to upset you. The world may not like you for it, but I assure you, you'll have a good time in peace. So just look at the ways where you're choosing to let things affect you, and if you were to have a different choice, maybe you would stay in peace. It's a big, big step to self-responsibility. Number 2, I need do nothing. Need only arises out of our misperception about who we are. When you recognize your divinity and you experience that in enlightenment, you'll know who you are. You won't have a need that hasn't been fulfilled because you've been given everything in your divinity. So need always arises out of our empty, frightened, separate self that thinks it's lacking something and needs to be filled up. Number 3, stepping stones laid before me of God. My experiences are stepping stones. Everyone in this room has probably had some spiritual or mystical experience in your life. And you're probably still lugging that stone around from 30 years ago, and you hold it up to measure every stone you're standing on right now to find the current moment wholly inadequate because it in no way matches this mystical experience or this revelation or an old relationship, whatever it is. The point is, he calls them stepping stones. They're all moments. You step on them, you experience what they are, and you leave it be. You'd be much happier if you weren't maybe comparing every moment you're experiencing now to some moment you experienced 20 years ago. It's really best to just forget them. When you step on them, enjoy them, take them fully, and then leave them be. But just look at how you're using stepping stones from your past, either bad or good ones, to judge against the current moment. And always finding the current moment lacking in some way, or, wow, so grateful it was better than the past. Lugging those old experiences around is doing nothing but encumbering your infinite experience of what's available right here, right now. And number 4, your creative source. The only relationship that matters at all is with God, your creative source. We like to think we created ourselves. You maybe have created the little idea of yourself running around in your mind, but none of us would try to lay claim that I created this body and all its magnificence and all its complexity and all its incredible reliability despite the fact that I don't treat it very well. None of us would look on the creativity in nature and say, that's mine, I made that, I know how all that works, and by the way, I'm sustaining it too. He's inviting us into that relationship with the creative source, rather than this habitual relationship we have with our thinking mind and the dances we do with everybody else's thinking mind. He's asking us to simply abandon that and go directly to the source. Kind of a good way if you want to know. It's like going on a vacation. What good is it to hear how experiences everybody else had? Just go yourself. I mean, everybody else's experiences suck. They're not of any value to you whatsoever. So when you think about awakening or anything else, recognize you're waking up to the infinite consciousness that is the creator of all things. That's a big step from our little tiny Babel box, which can hardly remember a grocery list, you know? So here we go. We're going to start with the Aramaic Lord's Prayer. For those of you who haven't heard this, this is Jeshua, Jesus/Yeshua, whatever name you want to call him, channeling through his channel, JM, who channeled this entire Way of Mastery pathway. So we're going to go through it twice, one just spoken and one with music. Just sit back. You're not going to know what the words mean, and that's great. Just enjoy it and let it sink into your being.
Awun, the Boshmaya. Ni te kadash shamar, te malkuda, neve asivinach, akina the boshmaya o baraha, haulan lachman sunkanan yaumana, boshwoklan halpin, akina daphanan, shwakin il hayabin, ula talan il nisyon, El passam membisha, but all the lachim alkuta, uhaila, utish bhakta, la alam, amin, amen.
Isn't that beautiful? I put my nose on because when we channeled this lesson 2 weeks ago, there was more pissed off, angry people in this room than there had been for any other lesson. This one seemed to trigger a whole lot of stuff. So this is just a friendly reminder that it's only the ego that takes everything serious. It's only the ego that gets pissed off. It's only the ego that wants to argue right, wrong, good, or bad. So just a reminder that if it's heavy, just know that the ego's scared because the truth is really close. Best thing you can do is simply embrace it in love and not actually get on its fear train. So, like it or not, here we go. Ready, Cindy?
Imagine a light bulb in one of your fixtures. It looks out from its little filament and says, well, I hope that person that just walked in the door is the right one. If I could just reach out and grab them, maybe my own light would come on. Isn't it a lot simpler to take the cord and plug it into the right socket? How many times are you going to insist on trying to plug your cord into the wrong socket? Well, that one didn't work. I'll try this body. I'll try this person. I'll try this career. Oh, not getting very much juice from that either. Well, there's a little juice. And then you get angry because it's not giving you enough juice. Or it gave you enough juice yesterday, but not today, so it must be its fault. There is one little socket into which you can plug your cord. It's the only one that fits. It fits in, and it's the only socket wired to bring you the flowing and living waters of grace. And that socket dwells only within your heart, not the physical heart, but that which is symbolized by the physical heart, the core of your very being.
I've done an extensive dialogue on this where I call human love light bulb love, and we run around trying to, find other light bulbs that are higher wattage so they'll make us brighter. But in awakening, we take that out and we simply plug into the sun. Because, of course, our ego, light bulb love, has on-off to it. We turn it on, and if we think someone else might be ready to turn theirs on, we kind of turn ours on in expectation. And you get on a spiritual path, and we upgrade to the dimmer switch. Because we know we're not supposed to turn it all the way off, but we still want to exercise that judgment of moving love up or down. But God's love is like the sun. Recognize the sun has no concept within it of off. You recognize it just gives, and it gives all of itself to everyone and everything. Regardless, it doesn't even have a concept within it of an ability to judge. That's what God's love is like, and that's what He's kind of poking fun here. We run around trying to make our light brighter. If I just get another degree or another letter after my name, my light will be brighter and people will pay me more to see my light. Or if I get another job or another house, or we get a new car to keep up with the neighbors. We run down all kinds of things like this, and all of them are futile. I didn't come to an authentic desire to awaken until I had ran out every one of those potential avenues, only to find that, it may have made the light bright for a little while. You get a little honeymoon period with something. Even talk to lottery winners. They get a honeymoon period, but then their same old shitty mind that they had before the lottery won comes back, and they're suffering. So he's talking about plugging this into the source, reuniting with the source, away from where we've made all these substitutes for love. Because that's the only place where the source is unlimited. Because you recognize if you're playing light bulb love as a body, you're responsible for how bright you can make your light. And haven't you run out in the world, try to be a really bright light, and you come home at night and you're friggin' exhausted? Because you're running out there trying to light up the world with your little light. In the last week, he was singing in this lesson, "This little gnat of mine, I'm going to make it shine." Because he's talking about our body minds, our egos are so tiny in comparison to the source. So it's about abandoning that whole effort and plugging metaphorically into the sun, and you recognize there's not like a limit there. It's just constantly flowing, constantly giving. It's a one-way direction. The other thing we set up with this light bulb love is we set up this whole concept of reciprocity. And we negotiate. If your light will be this bright for this period of time, I'll reciprocate with my light on for this period of time. Don't we all do that? And we think that peace in a relationship comes when we both agree to have our lights on and off at the same time. And it never works that way. It never works. Rather than simply abandoning that whole crazy system and plugging into the sun, S-U-N, to use the symbol, or S-O-N, your own inner self, it's divine, and then that source is unlimited. And you no longer are exhausted because you're not responsible for the light. You're not trying to create a substitute. The light of the source just radiates through you effortlessly. Gone is being worn out and tired because you're trying to do this game of light bulb love.
But how many times in each day do you check to see that the cord is still plugged in? How many times do you remember to ask yourself, is my commitment to love or is my commitment to fear? Fear is the act of disconnecting your cord from the only socket that can truly satisfy you and running about trying to plug it into someone else's or something else's. And I would ask you to consider this one question as you look upon the whole of your experience. Has it ever worked? Can it ever work? Imagine trying to hold flowing water in the palm of your hand by squeezing your fingers together. How much are you left with? Doesn't it just run through the fingers no matter how hard you try? It finds the little holes and it flows away. You open your hand and there is not enough left there to wet the tongue. And yet, each time you have looked upon another, whether parent or sibling or friend or mate or teacher or whatever you have, every time you've looked upon a physical object and tried to plug into that socket to get the juice you believe you need, that's what you're doing. And you literally end up squeezing the life out of the relationship itself.
This thing, how many times a day do you check to see if the cord is still plugged in? How many of you kind of text or call home to take the temperature of your spouse before you get there? Or your mate, or you get there and you metaphorically, you kind of throw the hat in to see if it's going to get shot before you get there, because we're so fearful of this game that the socket's going to get pulled out that we're preemptively expecting the light to be off, so we're constantly living in this fear. We have a preemptive commitment to fear. And of course, that's simply the way it is. When we're trying to make substitutes for this one relationship with the Creator, when we're trying to make them this way, they have to be fear-based relationships. I'm not saying they're bad, but just don't look for this relationship to do what only this relationship can do for you. But we try like crazy to do it this way. So what are you committed to, love or fear? Love actually sets your partner free. Fear says, you owe me. You said your light would be on this vacation, damn it, and it's not bright enough, and you are screwing up our vacation, and it's your fault. We do those kind of things. We have those kind of commitments rather than the love that sets free, that says, you're free to find the source this way. You're responsible to plug your light in, and I'm responsible to plug my light into the source, and we'll help each other do that, and we can give up this codependent game of making lousy substitutes with light bulb love. So just look at your relationship. Are you willing to set your partner free to find this? And that may mean they run out to find it this way. They may have to fail 10 more times, 20 more times before they finally go, shit, I finally recognized this is never going to work. It can be pretty enlightening when you get to that stage. It can be very depressing if you don't actually turn towards the source. You can just get very depressed that nothing in the world works. We've all felt that. Haven't you felt a sense of futility? And then we end up settling. We end up just going, well, that's the way life is. And we settle for shitty codependent love. Whether it's with a person, or whether it's with a thing, or whether it's with a job that we're gritting our teeth the whole time we're there, we rationalize and talk ourselves into being somewhere we don't want to be. Because we're so scared to turn and look to the source, because we're scared the source is going to be mad because we tried all this crazy substitutes. That's not the case. You know, in the prodigal son story, there was no judgment, just a welcome embrace. Remember, the son that you can plug into doesn't even have a concept of how to judge. So he gave us one example of light. Now he's going to give us another one, just in case we didn't get the first one, just in case that was a wee bit confusing. We can all relate to this. Trying to grab water with your hand, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous to do that. And we find it, we try and do it with parents and siblings. How many of you have held on to a relationship just so no one else could have that person's light? I mean, we hold on to it just out of bitterness. We hold on to it just to spite and recognize we're the ones that suffer when we do that. But somehow that insanity makes sense to us. And we do that. We won't let something go. Even bad habits, even if they're not another person, your own stuff. We hold on to our past like a brick. We won't actually let it go. Whew. But every time we do that, we're squeezing the little tiny bit of life that is in anything in the world and try to make it the substitute for infinite love. And none of them are going to work. If you haven't found that they won't work, then go, please, try all the ways you think it will work so that you can come to failure quicker, which means you can get on to plugging into the source. You can awaken faster. But there are many of us, some of us held dreams since our infants, since little kids, that when this happens, life will be perfect. Doesn't everybody have that list? It's usually filed under lottery winnings. That's where you usually can find that list in your mind. But the point is, when you recognize that nothing in the world has ever and will ever truly satisfy the depth of your soul without you incredibly sacrificing, incredibly settling, and having an absolutely mediocre existence, then you can be grateful because you finally learn the lesson that nothing in the world, no idols in the world will fulfill you, and you can actually turn towards love.
But in truth, when you seek first the kingdom and plug that cord into the socket within your heart, when you remember that you and your Father are one, that only love is real, that nothing else matters, and what you're feeling that might be speaking to you saying, but, is nothing more than the echo of an old habit, and that habit cannot live unless you feed it. Therefore, feed the only habit that matters, the habit of remembering that the truth is true always, regardless of what is passing before your physical eyes, and therefore before your mind. In all comings and goings, in all births and deaths, in all arising and passing away of universe after universe after universe, in the midst of a flat tire or a sudden rainstorm, nothing holds value except your relationship with your Creator. When you have experienced in relationship with anyone or anything a moment of bliss, a moment of peace that forever passes all understanding, a moment of fulfillment so sweet and so sublime that no word could touch it, much less express it, what you have experienced is only the flow of the love of God through you. It was not caused by that person or thing. It was caused because for just a moment you stepped out of your drama, you stepped out of your dream, and allowed the truth to be lived.
But. If you're on a spiritual path and you're trying to discern between what in your consciousness is ego and what is spirit, I can assure you if it is preceded by but, there's a very, very high likelihood that that's ego and you can just throw it out. Because the ego is rooted in opposition. It's rooted in pushing away. It's rooted in conflict. It's rooted in not this, but that. Spirit says yes to this and that. So the voice of Spirit will say yes and in the place of but. Because the Spirit doesn't exclude. So just look in your consciousness, but, and how vehemently you're willing to defend your but. And of course, I don't mean your physical one, but you're welcome to defend that too. But just look how frequently that you have a belief that something violates, something doesn't match, and you're like, but. We can go back to that first axiom. I and I alone source my own experience, but they did it to me. I wouldn't be angry if they hadn't have done so-and-so. You can tell that's all ego because it was preceded by the but. It's trying to cast responsibility and blame outside of yourself. But it's not a problem. It's just an old habit. I'll use the example of a ceiling fan. The ceiling fan is powered by a switch, right? So if you imagine the switch is your belief, if you believe something, it's powering the fan, which are thoughts about that belief, right? So the fan's whirling away because you believe something. But. Now we get distracted, we get so enthralled with looking at the fan and looking at all those thoughts and wanting to change the thoughts that we don't recognize the reason that the fan is spinning with those thoughts, the reason we're butting, is because we have a belief somewhere in our being that is powering those thoughts. I mean, how many of you are struggling with thoughts, I'm a horse? You just can't get them out of your consciousness. They're just beating the shit out of you. I am a horse. Well, you recognize nobody has those thoughts, do you? Because you don't have the belief to power them. You see what I'm saying? So, if you're whatever's powering the butt of the fan spinning around the thoughts, you got to go find the belief in your being and let it go. Forgive it, release it, turn it off at the source. And even when you turn the switch off, the fan still spins around for a while because it's been in the habit of thinking about it. So just because you surrender the belief or you forgive it, people expect immediately to never see a thought like that again. Well, the fan's going to take a while to slow down. Unless you think it doesn't slow down fast enough and you run over it, I must not have done it right, and you throw the power back on. You pick that belief back up. So when you let them go and forgive them, the thoughts may continue to come for a while, but they will slow down and they will stop so long as you don't continue to energize them, so long as you don't continue to put energy and belief into them. Is that a simple symbol that makes sense there? Whew. So the only habit that matters is remembering that the truth is true now. When I started this pathway and I finally began to hear His voice, and I would be asking for all these techniques, He was like, dude, the truth is true now. What technique do you need to know the truth is true now? Well, I didn't believe that the truth was true now. I thought I had to do something to make the truth be true. We do. We think, well, it's not true for me. Well, that me is the problem. That separate me that doesn't know the truth is what we call our ego body mind. So it's about truly opening up to the truth is true now. If this all is a dream and I haven't ever really been separate from God, then the evidence of that, the experience of that, the knowingness of that must be here in this moment. It can't be that hard to find if it's everything. Because God, of course, is all it is. It can't be that hard to find. But the only place you're going to find it is right here. You're not going to find it in those stepping stones you're lugging around from the past. They're not going to be the ones you're designing to hopefully step on in the future. It's got to be right here, right now. So if the truth is true now, that would mean that our separation in the ego and all the thoughts that go with it isn't true. So we just throw it out. We just abandon that whole effort rather than giving the ego this real big reality as this big, scary, googly moogly kind of, in our consciousness. I hear people, especially A Course in Miracles, if Course in Miracles students would focus as much on the love that is true now rather than all the attention they put on the ego, you go to a course group, everybody talks about the ego. Damn, Course in Miracles is about love. Why are they talking about the ego so much? Anyway, nothing holds value except your relationship with your Creator. And when you're engaged in a but debate in your mind, you're only talking to yourself. You're clearly not talking to the Creator. You're only running around in your own mind. Whew. So how many of us have experienced a relationship where we opened and there was this moment of bliss? And then it was like, oh my God, I've got to have that person for myself. I have to possess them. I can't let anyone else have them because I was safe enough to experience God in a moment of innocence, but I thought it was that person who made me feel that way. I didn't recognize it was love. But I said, they're the one who made me feel that way. How many of you fell into this trap with your first sexual partner? Oh, man. Because that's the holy grail, really, for the body, isn't it? Whew, you want to have that one because you want to have more of that. Whew. But that's not really what happens in those situations. We're just so open that we have a revelation, we have an experience of truth. The only way you're going to find that again is in truth, in reconnecting with the source. And when you do, you won't seek for it so much because it'll be ever present. And you won't put demands on any other being because love will be fulfilling you in every way. And how about stepping out of your drama and stepping out of your dream? We've worn our dramas into the ground. And you know what? It's only like 5 episodes, and we just rerun them over and over and over and over and over. Sometimes we invite new actors to play the same scene, and we put it in a different locale and we convince ourselves it's a new scene. It's only like 5 scenes over and over and over and over and over. Are you ready to step out of that whole thing and stop playing that part even with new players in it? It has some momentary excitement when there are new players in your dream, but it ends up being the same old lousy dream.
Then, of course, you tricked yourself. God, that was so sweet. That was the best thing I've ever tasted. It must have come from you. Get over here. I need you. If ever you believe you need anything or anyone, rest assured, in that moment you are living in delusion. All you need is love. Love fulfills all things. Love embraces all things. Love heals all things. And love transforms all things. Therefore, indeed, remember well, you and only you can become the cause, if you will, of your fulfillment, of your peace, of your completion of time. And this requires that you do nothing save remember to establish the connection with your Creator. Is it not true that what you desire most of all is love? Is it not true that you try, or at least you hope, that each relationship, no matter how short, no matter what its form, that each journey, that each undertaking will allow you the experience of peace? Is it not true that you who find yourselves in and as a body temporarily in time, is it not true that the grandest of experiences you've known have been those that seem to flood the very cells of the body with love, with a sublime bliss and a peace?
Whenever he says, remember well or rest assured, he's really going, listen! This is important! And if you listen to when he channels these things, he'll make that point and then he puts the pause in there so that you can bring your attention to what he's getting ready to tell you. How many of us have needed someone so bad we said we couldn't live without them? Those that fulfilled us, made us whole and complete until they turned their damn light off. And then, of course, we were abandoned. That was my story. I played the abandonment card in this incarnation. That was my final expression in time and space of everyone and everything abandons me. And I put all kinds of crazy burdens on Cindy to fulfill that. Luckily, she stuck in there. All the other relationships did end up executing my desire for them to abandon me. But I didn't know that what I really wanted, what I really needed, is God's love. The source love. I was looking for it in all the wrong places, just like that song. And there is a beautiful song that says, all you need is love. I would edit that one bit to say, all you are is love. Because that still subtly reinforces that we believe we're separate and we believe we need it. And that need would have to be fulfilled in the future. All of those are subtle tricks. And he talks about the tricks. The ego plays tricks upon tricks upon tricks upon tricks upon tricks. But luckily, your inner guides have they've all transcended all those tricks. So if you'll open up and be guided from within, they can tell you when you're getting duped. I used to be mad at Jeshua because he wouldn't tell me I was ready to step in my own shit before I stepped in my own shit. I wanted him to keep me from making the mistakes, from falling for those tricks. And he said, well, if I did that, would you really learn anything? You have to walk this journey on your own. Believe me, when you step in it, you'll know it, and then you'll turn to me and I'll share with you what happened. And I'll share with you how to avoid it in the future. But you recognize you need to make that movement to the truth on your own in the moment. Whew. Remember well, you and only you can become the cause, if you will. How many of us think that you are an inexhaustible source of your own fulfillment, your own peace, and your own transcendence of time and space? None of us really think that very much, do we? We think we're empty. I mean, that's the whole game. Everybody's running around looking for someone else to fulfill them, and we're all looking at each other's emptiness and saying, are you full? Can you fill my emptiness? But the point is, you're going to come to awareness and consciousness that you and the Father are indeed one. There is no source outside of your being. And that you are absolutely free in your infinite freedom to fulfill yourself with love and peace and joy. And you won't be able to separate that love and peace and joy from the Creator. It will simply be from your one self with a big S. And then you know, then that's the truth that sets you free. Because nothing outside of you is obligated to you anymore. Nothing outside of you place any demands on anymore. You become your own same self source of fulfillment because you've plugged into the source. Then, by the way, you will have a gift to give every other being because your source will be unlimited. Your choice, your mastery of self-fulfillment will be so great, people may fill up your damn living room and say, how do you do that? I want to know how to do that. Will you help me with that? And we all want love, and we do look for it in all the wrong places. How many of us hear that 10:30 at night? Man, a bowl of ice cream would make me feel love right now. Or, you know, Jerry Garcia, that's Cindy's favorite. I do lemon sorbet, but everybody's got those, whether it's a Twinkie or maybe a peanut butter sandwich or some comfort food from when you were little, because it makes you remember being loved. And we do that. We go and we have that moment of bliss with it, and then we're walking out of the kitchen, and the ego goes, "Dumbass, you got no self-control. You're going to be overweight." You know. Just one thing after another. We do. I mean, you guys can relate, obviously. But it's really important that we recognize those games. And you're welcome to have the ice cream. It's not about not having the ice cream. It's just not about getting your ass beat by yourself afterwards. It's about having it and guilt-free. And having it simply for the experience of enjoying the ice cream, not because you have placed a burden on it to change your state of being. That's asking a lot of ice cream, you know. That is Twinkies, ice cream, whatever it is for you, that is asking an extraordinary amount of some little edible thing. Ooh, but I have a friend who it's all about chocolate. And that has the capacity to create incredible joy. I want to help you find the source where you are the source of incredible joy, and you can actually give that joy to the ice cream or to the chocolates or to your partner or to the world, rather than putting the expectations that kind of stuff is supposed to fulfill you. That was fun. Let's go to the next one.
Accept that truth, that what you desire beyond all things is the living experience of love. And then remember that nothing you do can bring love to you. Nothing you do can keep love for yourself in a form of your choosing. Nothing you do can make love appear in the form of your insistence. But releasing the drama, releasing the dream, choosing to remember the truth that is true always, returning to the kingdom within, even prior to every breath, and reminding yourself and saying to your Creator, I want only that which is true always. Love is what I want. Love is what you are. Love is what I receive. Love is who I am. I and my Father are one. Here, and here alone, do you discover what you seek. And then you become free to walk this earth, to be in it, but not of it at all. And though your friends will look upon you and still see a man or a woman who seems to act much like themselves, and yet, though they see it not, Christ dwells with them, and something in them keeps attracting them to you. They're not sure what it is. The shape of your body, the radiance of your eyes. It is not these things. They feel the quality of love.
Nothing you can do can bring love to you. If you're deeply identified with your story, that's got to be damn depressing. Didn't we all run out to Abraham Hicks or The Secret? because we thought we could bring exactly love to us in exactly the form that we wanted, we try it. And there's nothing wrong with those things. They're an early step on any spiritual path, coming to learn the power of thought. But it's not going to fulfill you. The Mercedes appearing in the driveway, even if you can go snap and it's there, it's going to get a flat tire and you're going to be pissed off. The point is, nothing can make love appear in the form that you insist, but love can come to you and through you. His point is that we allow the source to flow through us. We can't possess love. We try like crazy. But actually, when you give up the desire to possess it, when you give up the desire to make it appear in forms that you want, and you simply surrender into it and let it flow, you'll be absolutely amazed at how it will flow through you. This last paragraph, I see people I haven't seen in years, and they go, man, what is different about you? Have you cut your hair? Have you lost a lot of weight? What is it about you? There's just something different, and I can't put my finger on it. Because deep down their soul says, oh, hallelujah, there's the light. And by the time it sifts up through their story, all they know is something doesn't fit. Something's a little unusual. This prayer, I want only that which is true always. Love is what I want. Love is what you are. Love is what I receive. Love is who I am. I and my Father are one. Recognize in this statement, He's bringing you into the present with a present moment desire. We did whole lesson number 4 on desire. He's making that desire current. And He's not just saying, here's the desire. He goes on in the next sentence to answer the desire with the truth. He doesn't leave it hanging out there. You say, I want this. And then He says in the prayer, love is who I am. I and the Father are one. He doesn't say, we'll be one when XYZ happens, even when a spiritual awakening happens. So recognize He's offering you a clue. Get with your desire and then move directly into the fulfillment of that desire in the moment. The ego can want like crazy. I mean, I've had people come and say, I want nothing but God, I want nothing but God, I want nothing of God but God. And they throw it out there, like God's way out there somewhere, and they've sent their telegram and they're just waiting at the steps. When will it come? Rather than recognizing, because He just told us you're the source of your own love. So if you've got a desire for it, okay, acknowledge the desire, but then turn around and answer your own love with the truth. Don't leave it outside of you, because recognize if you stop at the desire, you're really saying there's some power out there that will choose that desire being fulfilled or not. And I'm a victim to something out there. And haven't we all felt that? It feels kind of bitter after a while, doesn't it? But you recognize we're creating our own bitterness by having the desire and not fulfilling it within ourselves. Not acknowledging the truth that's true now. And even if you don't have a clue what that means, I am the Father one, are you at least willing to stand in it and say, what is this truth? I'm willing to claim it. Welcome the experience to come to prove to you that that's the case. Otherwise, you're just going to sit in your desires for love all the time asking for love. And what you're really doing is denying that the source of that love is within. You effectively ignore it in all your begging rather than fulfilling that from within. So just watch that. That's a trick. The ego can ask all kinds of questions, all kinds of future possibilities, when you have the simple power to access that and fulfill yourself from within. Choosing the truth that is true always, returning to the kingdom of heaven within, even prior to every breath. He's asking us to get that present, that we are present even before every breath. Not just when we have a flat tire and we need some help. Not just when, where the bliss bus wheels have fallen off, but actually all the time. Then you're free to walk the world and be in it, but not of it. And I can't tell you that there's a greater joy to walk this world knowing nothing can place a demand upon you, and you place no demands upon anyone. that you are absolutely fulfilled and you're prepared to let that fulfillment overflow and bathe any and everyone who welcomes it. And even those who don't, they're going to get bathed nonetheless. It's really simple. The ego tells us, I'm going to lose all my friends. No one would understand me. What do you mean? You're not going to care because you'll be fulfilled within yourself. You won't need their attention or their approval or their acceptance anymore. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but look at some of your friendships. They're not very healthy. They're codependent. You put a lot of expectations on friends to fulfill you. You want peace? It's this close. And it doesn't have to be hard. It's not complicated. It doesn't need to take long. If you hear a bunch of buts, you know all that's simply obstruction.
Can you imagine walking upon this earth, this very planet upon which you find yourselves, and no matter where you are, feeling as though every wisp of cloud and every blade of grass and all good things under heaven and earth are already residing with you within this sphere of your countenance? Can you imagine walking upon this earth and sensing that the light from the farthest of stars that shines during the night is already within you, that the whole of creation was held in the palms of your hands? Would there be room yet to convince yourself that there is something you lack, something you need, that the restlessness you feel must be valid? In truth, you are like one who has been given a perfect treasure, a priceless jewel, and you have placed it into your pocket and forgotten that you possess it. And so you run around trying to look into everybody else's pocket. And you've tried to seduce certain ones to surrender so that you can own the clothing and therefore try to possess the jewel that you hope is in their pocket. But the great truth is that you cannot possess love until you set it free. You cannot move into holy relationship with anyone or anything until you give up all trace of need to possess it.
Thank you, Cindy. This first paragraph is an extraordinary contemplation in and of itself. So all the time you spend in your consciousness complaining about someone or something, or trying to plan a future so that you don't feel this or you don't feel that, what if all that energy you diverted into contemplation of those beautiful, beautiful things? Can you imagine walking this earth in all those conditions? Probably not. I sure as hell couldn't. But I sure wasn't going to get anywhere closer bitching in my mind about other stuff. So Jeshua taught me how to contemplate. And contemplation starts with, I don't have the answer to this within myself. I don't have the knowingness of this direct experience, and I'm not going to try and patch together my past to give me a seeming imagination. I'm going to contemplate it by asking outside of myself, outside of my little sphere of mind, outside of my past, and I'm going to listen. Contemplation is actually more about listening than it is about thinking. And as I spent time contemplating these things, things began to be revealed in my mind. Things began to have inner vision that started to show me a truth about this, what this was. And you can ask your guides to help you with this, whether you call it the Holy Spirit or your Antaryaman, whatever name you give to your inner guide, if a whole family member, whatever. Ask them for your help. Because if you can even remotely begin to open up to these contemplations, these truths, your lousy story is going to look incredibly unworthy by comparison. You won't want to go back to your drama. But we spend so much time in our drama that we don't ever consciously step out of it to even contemplate these. So there's a beautiful contemplation of that. Next time you're all balled up about something and you're worrying, what if you did this instead? What if you made a conscious choice? You know what? I've been worrying my whole life and it never really has done me any good. What if I took that worrying energy and put it into this? Try it. You won't know until you do. Our ego tells us we can't know until the experience comes. Yeshua just told you in the prayer before, what thing do you desire? Now give it to yourself. Open up to it within yourself. You're going to find you have an extraordinary capacity because the truth of you is you were created infinite like the Creator. So open up to that with that contemplation. There are so many beautiful symbols around spirituality about this inner treasure. My favorite is this guy's walking down the road and he's sitting on a chest, and this guy walks by, and this guy's like begging. He's sitting on this chest begging, give me some money, give me some money. And this very peaceful man in a beautiful white robe says, what's in your box? What are you sitting on? He's like, nothing. I've been sitting on this box for 30 years. Dude, give me some money. I don't have any food. I don't have anything. Nobody loves me. People come by here and they don't give me anything. I just need some money. And the guy said, really, what's in the box? Nothing's in this box. This is my box. I've been sitting on it for 30 years. Nothing is in this stinking box. Are you going to give me some money or not? And the guy said, no, I've already given you the biggest gift. And he walks off. So the beggar goes on for months begging and begging and begging. And finally he has the slightest little remembrance. That guy said, what's in the box? So the beggar gets up off the box and breaks open the lock and opens it up, and it's full of treasure. He's been sitting right on the treasure the whole stinking time he was begging. But because he was unwilling to look within, because he had already decided there was nothing of value there, he continued to suffer. The treasure is within. Every enlightened being that's ever walked this world has said where it's at. I don't know how we developed catalogs as a lousy substitute. We look for salvation in all kinds of stuff rather than looking for the one place that we'll find it. And this thing, love is not possessive. This was the whole thing when Jeshua said to the rich man, go give all your things away and follow me. And the rich man was like, screw that. I'm not giving up my stuff. And the point here isn't that you give up your stuff. Nobody's advocating that. Yeshua will actually talk about that in a future lesson. But look at your attachments to it. Are you willing to surrender your attachments to them? Is there something in your life you think you can't live without? And if you really think you can't, maybe you do need to give it away. Whatever that might be. Because you know what? You're not going to possess it forever. I mean, there's that very simple adage, you can't take it with you. But we don't learn from that. We keep trying. And this thing about looking for the jewel in someone else's pocket, damn, I looked for it in their pants. I mean, that's what I was looking for. That's what I thought salvation was. It wasn't that I was looking for the jewel in their pocket. I thought they had the jewel because I was only half of the equation. And I needed the other half in order to be whole. So just look at ways in which you're doing that. We try and possess someone else's treasure because we perceive that we don't have it, rather than waking up to what we have within that does have it. I see that look on your face, honey. Sorry if that embarrassed you. But look at possession. And the ego will say if possession is bad, it will then try and go the opposite direction and swing to no possession and push everything away. The goal is to come to the middle. Not, I'm all about possession, not possession is bad, but where you're actually equanimous about it. You're right in the middle. Don't follow that, the ego's thing that, oh my God, so I have to give away my car, I have to give away my cat, I have to give... Just look at your attachments to them and be willing to come to a place of peace and release where you have been in attachments to things. Because it's only love. You can't possess love until you set it free. And have you ever considered the bondage that you've put God in? Look at the definitions you have in your own consciousness about God. Look at the demands you have placed on God or the Creator or the Source or the universe, whatever you have called it. Have you set God free to be free? Just look. My answer was a hell no. My answer was alternately begging when I wanted something and blaming when I didn't get what I want. So just look, because you probably haven't even set the source free within your consciousness. And it's subtle, but that, of course, can block your awareness of that source. Yeshua talked to, when he brought that up within me, that I needed to forgive him and forgive God when we did the dry erase, or the clean slate. We put God on there and erased it. Because we got all kinds of God's concepts about God. And none of them are really true. Where did you develop them? From what other people said, or from your own consciousness, or from egoic stuff? Maybe give God a clean slate and let God reveal God's self, yourself, within, rather than binding it up by all that we think we know about God. That was a nice little revelation there.
When your only desire is love, you will be willing to set anyone free, to support them in their own journey, no matter what it is or what it takes. And yet you will never feel your love waver. And if a twinge of sadness arises because you recognize that two bodies in space are now going to go to separate parts of the planet, as that twinge arises, you'll recognize it as the effect of a mistaken perception, and you will move within to the place in which all minds are joined, and you will remember that your fulfillment does not rest in gaining love from another, but in giving love to everyone. If indeed you would know the truth that sets you free, heed each and every word that is being shared. And if you would taste the sweet nectar of perfect freedom, be you therefore committed to replacing every erroneous perception you've ever made, every thought you ever held of everyone and everything, to set these things aside and commit the fullness of your energy to the simple but vigilant practice of remembering the truth, even prior to every breath. I live, yet not I, but Christ dwells in me. Therefore, I submit and surrender to the truth that is true always, for my fulfillment comes only from allowing Christ to be given to the world.
Setting everyone free will set you free. It can be pretty damn traumatic for the people who you set free. It wasn't certainly welcome for Cindy when I was going this direction, no matter what it took. This second paragraph, he's really talking about being all in. You know, we want to go through these talks and pull out the things we like that seem to not challenge us too deeply, but we want to ignore the rest. But it will absolutely disturb people when you absolutely set them free. Because none of us know what freedom is. We only know ourselves through some kind of binding agreement. It can really be disturbing to those folks. But you're going to have to recognize, I can either stay in that sorry, no, never get my light bulb lit relationship, or I can turn. And it can and feel like abandonment. Cindy certainly expressed that in our talk, that she felt abandoned because I had violated the fine print of our vows. When I said, I'm going all in for the source no matter what it takes. And I set you free to do that in the way that works for you. Because you know what? Each of us are incredibly unique. Our paths home may not be with the partner we're with. But don't we so desperately want it? We have this fantasy of like holding hands and walking over the threshold of heaven together. Well, that will probably slow you both down. Everyone's got to come to their inner truth and follow that inner truth. Jeshua talks about it in the Course in Miracles. It says most relationships are designed to be very temporary. You come together, you learn what you need to learn, and you move on to learn something else. But the point is, just know it. And the ego will bring this up as a fear and say, don't go any further. I can't hurt the people I love. Well, you're already hurting them if you love them with a possessive love. You're already hurting them if you love them in a box that says they can't go out of the box. That's already hurting them. They're going to have to walk their own path. Everyone is. And set them free to do it. I've seen folks who've gotten a look at the truth and then they want to shove it down everybody else's face because it's so beautiful they want everybody to have it, and it's so simple. Everybody's got to walk their own path. This work is not about proselytizing. We're not out there on the streets going, you sinners, you're going to hell, come on right now. I mean, those who are ready come. And when they come, they're welcomed. You're not welcomed for any story you played. You're welcomed as the holy child of God that you are right now. And you're offered every opportunity to remember and accept that. I live, yet not I, but Christ dwells in me. And when he means Christ, he doesn't mean Jesus. Let's be really clear about that. All of Christianity tried to make Jesus the Son of God. And all the rest of us, I don't know what it was called, redheaded stepchildren, something. But the church tried to make it about the body ego, that the body, Jesus, was the Christ. I am the Christ. You are the Christ. We are the Christ together. Christ is a state of consciousness. It's one. That was fun. I love channeling love. It's one existence, one love, one creator, one mind, whatever you want to call it. But the point is, each and every one of us will wake up to be Christ. And Christ will, that infinite intelligence, will come to dwell where before the body-mind ran around in fear. And it will rather rest in peace in that form. For my fulfillment comes only from allowing Christ to be given to the world. And you know that the joke of the whole thing is you're only giving yourself to yourself. You're not giving it to anyone else. There aren't any others out there. That's all part of the crazy separate dream. You're only extending love to yourself. And there's no greater joy. It's really, really wonderful when you can look in someone's eyes with an unconditional love and know that you set them absolutely free and that they've always been free, even free to dream the dream of separation. And why would you ever want to limit anyone's freedom, even if their dream looks nasty, even if their dream looks gnarly? Even if their dream seems to have incredible suffering in it, they're making their own way home, whatever it takes. I had to come to my knees within my own being. If I had had happy ego life, I maybe wouldn't have come to my knees and I wouldn't have said there's got to be a better way. So those that are out there that seem to be suffering so bad, back to the first axiom, they're creating that experience within themselves. It's not being done to us. They're never victims. The ego has to have that whole victim mentality going on. So every being is walking their path and coming to what they need to awaken. And I would appreciate and I would offer you, it doesn't have to be the come to your knees way. You can do it consciously and willingly, unless you want to hold on to your separate self and try and, sneak it into heaven like alcohol on an overseas travel bag or something. And again, he's asking us to be vigilant with the practice for truth, which is seeking first the kingdom prior to every breath. It's not a part-time job being Christ. It's an eternal job. It's not a job, it's play. It's an eternal play. And it's not hard unless we want to keep some of ourself, unless we want to say, Christ dwells in me when I'm in meditation, but not when I'm driving down the highway, or not when my spouse is pissed off, or not when the bills come, or not when a diagnosis comes. It's up to you. Do you want to give all of yourself to truth or only bits and pieces? You can do it any way you'd like. All in can happen pretty quickly if you choose to do it that way. I submit and surrender to the truth that is true always. Not the truth that your mind tells you is true, not the truth that it keeps running around trying to realize. Just open up to the truth. It's got to be here. It's all that is. It's so obvious. It's so in your face. We just look right through it. What was the name of that movie, Cindy? We just saw about the magicians.
Oh, Now You See It.
Now You See It. If anybody's not seen this movie, we'll do it for Waking Up to Movies. It's got some fabulous symbols in it. But it says the closer you look, the easier it will be to deceive you. The less you will see. It's so obvious. It's so hidden right before us. We're looking at it with it. It's so close.
And so you see, the truth is very simple. It's not complex at all. Get out of the way. Let love live through you. And all of a sudden, you will know that indeed you are given all good things eternally. You will know that grace is reality. You will know that effortlessness is the way of life in the kingdom. But effortlessness does not mean that you do not feel, for you are a dimension of feeling. Effortlessness does not mean that you do not discover, that you do not deepen your ability to be the living embodiment of love. It does not mean that you do not challenge yourself to learn to express love in a way that can be heard by another. Effortlessness means simply that you abandon the resistance to what love requires in each moment. Effortlessness is the way of the kingdom. In the world, effortlessness means that you let down the wall you have built between yourself and all of creation. You no longer resist the lived experience of relationship, whatever it is. Relationship with a cloud, relationship with another person, relationship with a dog or a cat, relationship with, you call it, your April 15th, when you write your grand government a check? Why do you not wrap it with what you call your Christmas paper and your ribbons and send it with much love?
You got to appreciate Jeshua's humor. That's one of the beautiful things about this pathway. You actually hear him speak, and he pokes fun all the time because, of course, he is the truth, the life, and the way as I am, and he knows it's not serious. And he's trying to help us lighten the load within our being. So the truth is very simple. How many Course in Miracles students are in here? How many times did you say, shit, this is complex? Gosh almighty. Man, well, all that's resistance to the truth. If you're thinking it's hard or it's complicated, the ego's behind that judgment, I can assure you. Love needs no complex metaphysical concepts. Peace needs no crazy rituals to be known. It just is. And when it is and it's authentic, you know it. Can you trust that? Rather than continuing to try and fill the little mind with all the right concepts so that your metaphysics all finally line up in this beautiful straight line and bam, you get it. Effortlessness. We all like this idea of effortless, don't we? Yeah, he's throwing a big hook out there to try and catch us because most of our lives are about effort. Effort to survive, effort to love, effort to protect, effort to defend, effort to be fulfilled, effort. And if we're not, we beat ourselves up because we're not doing the things we should do. We're not working hard enough. We didn't get up early enough. We didn't make the bed this morning. Whatever it is, we seem to get on ourselves if we're not constantly efforting. But he's saying effortlessness is not that you don't do, and it's not that you don't feel an awakening. Quite the contrary, you are absolutely wide open to feel everything. Because gone is that part of your consciousness that says, I don't want to feel this, but I want to feel this. More orgasms, less pain. All that goes away and you simply open up and you welcome it all. Because you're no longer attached to it. You're no longer resisting it. So it comes, you bless it, you embrace it. It passes right through you just like the transcendence of love. So it's not about feeling less. Many people get on the spiritual path. I'm not supposed to feel anger. So they feel anger and then they deny it. I'm not feeling anger. That must be the ego, but it's not me. We start to deny it and push feelings away like we're not supposed to feel anything. And that's not it at all. It's actually about being absolutely effortless. Can you mute that mic, please? It's absolutely effortless to open in love. Absolutely open in love and allow love to move through you. And by the way, it never ends. Eternity is forever. I'm infinitely more awake than I was when I woke up several years ago. There's not a day that goes by that I don't experience a new revelation. If you look in your consciousness, the ego oftentimes has set awakening up as like this finish line. It's not. It is a finish line in one sense. It's the finishing of dying. It's the finishing death. But it's just the beginning of life. An eternal life that will forever, ever being revealed to you in greater and greater ways. You wake up to the truth that's true now, and every day it's like, I want all of God. Do me. I'll have all of you. Every bit, every ounce that there is. Do me, do me, do me. Do through me. Do anyone through me. Whatever you want to do. You'll only want more of it, and it will never stop. But I share that with you because oftentimes we have wow, there's the truth. And then we set up camp just inside the threshold rather than getting on about playing in the kingdom and about being welcoming the eternal revelation. When it's said in the Bible, I make all things new? Sure, because it's infinite. Something's going to be revealed all the time if you're open to it. Rather than taking a revelation that you see and you experience the truth and then filling your mind with concepts and just stopping right there where you're at. Whew. So effortless simply means that you abandon the resistance to what love requires in each moment. I don't know if you notice, is any big requirement being placed on you right now? The moments are always happening. I don't know why we think resistance to them is actually a really wise strategy. But we do it. We resist them all the time. So it's just talking about being open, being present, and stopping the whole action of the mind about past and future. Whew. So you just let down all the walls you built between yourself and creation. And many people say the whole dream of separation was a mistake. It was bad. It was wrong. We all did it consciously. No one incarnated by accident. No, God wasn't up there with a proverbial holy gun to your head saying, go, fall out of kingdom. Not at all. We all chose to have the experience. Why? Because we can. We're infinite beings. We chose to have this experience. And from our infiniteness, we have these kind of experiences across infinite realms. It's not that it's a problem. But we had to create barriers that said it was a problem, that said we were unworthy, that said we made the mistakes. We had to do those things in order to deceive ourselves to this extent. So it's not that it's bad, it's actually an expression of how incredibly creative we are. And it's actually proof of our creative capacity. And then you begin to live in the experience of relationship. When the idea of yourself, most people think we end here. And maybe you might say, well, I've got a personal space realm. It's maybe out here. Maybe my aura goes out here. And we think we have to be in relationship with another thing. When what he described earlier, when your consciousness turns and you recognize that all of creation is arising within your being, you can be in absolutely intimate relationship with anyone or anything at any time. Not as a separate thing, but as an absolute same self-expression of your being. And there's nothing but harmony and peace and infinite play in that way. It's really, really cool. I'd suggest you try it. If you come to heaven and you don't like it, you can go back to sleep if you want. But give it a go. And how about that? Who here can promise to send your next April 15th, your tax check, wrapped in Christmas paper? Isn't that a great idea?
When you've learned to release the barriers, the walls between yourself and whatever is in front of you, when you open the door to what many of you would call your chakras and simply allow love to be lived through you, when you look upon another or another situation or another thing and realize that nothing in this world has the power to hurt you, nothing in this world has the power to take anything from you, if you remember to extend love, then you are free, and you're transcended birth and death. The seeker is no more, and only Christ walks this earth. And if your commitment is indeed to look within and discover each and every obstacle you have ever created to the presence of love, why do you resist feeling those things? For well it has been said to you that on just the other side is the very love you seek. Deny then not the role of feeling in this dimension, for feeling is everything. You can't even know the presence of God unless you feel it. You can't think about the presence of God. You can't insist on a belief about the presence of God. That doesn't do it. That doesn't fill your cup. Feeling fills your cup. Feeling, unbridled, unblocked, unobstructed feeling is the doorway to that love that sets you free. Therefore, when you say, I don't want to feel this, rest assured what you're truly saying is, yes, yes, the doorway to the kingdom of heaven is right in front of me, but if you think I'm going to open it, you're crazy. It's not worth it anyway. What is worth it is protecting the substitute I have made.
Wow. We've all made many, many, many substitutes for love. So when Jeshua showed me this in my consciousness, it was like, here's this radiant heaven, and I had to build this little box that I was in, now a separate thing, a separate identity. Cindy, can you turn that off? Thanks. And every window I covered up with like a Jolly Roger, skull and crossbones. Oblivion here, don't go. Doorways, danger, danger. Only pain and suffering beyond this door, don't go. And look within your consciousness, don't you have those places? Well, sure. But right on the other side of them is actually not the stuff that you think is there, it's actually heaven. So when Jeshua told me this, I began running within my being at every place I had fear, at everything I was scared to feel, at all my judgments, at all of it. And it didn't take long for me to slice right through them and recognize they had no power over me when I took the power that they had the power to fear me, to scare me away. When the skull and crossbones didn't mean don't go there, danger, when that meant God's right here, you go running at them all. And it didn't take long to recognize that the power of Christ was infinitely greater than the story the ego had created about danger, stay out. Or this is a radioactive area, don't go here. So if you want to wake up, go to all the dark places in your consciousness. Go as the light you are. Yeshua said, I'll go with you, dude. I'm not scared of any of it. And go as the light of your consciousness and open those doors and let those things go and forgive them. We all had to create a prison. We all had to block heaven out of our awareness. Big deal. But where you think pain is, peace is right on the other side. If you're willing, run at them. Embrace them. Be grateful that you even created them or you wouldn't even have been able to have this cool experience. But you're going to feel. You're going to feel things in a way you've never felt them before. You'll come to experience a range of feeling that will blow you away. You will not know that you had the capacity to feel at that level. And yeah, that means you'll feel the uncomfortable things too. But you know what comes with that expanded feeling? Also a very expanded expression of what love feels like, what God's love feels like. And then you'll come to recognize, oh my gosh, the kingdom of heaven is just this unlimited ability to feel and experience. Why would I want to say part of it's bad? Why would I want to say heaven shouldn't be free? Heaven should only be this and not the whole of it. And you begin to embrace all of it and you welcome all of your creations that you created to be separate. You welcome back in love. And you're grateful for all the beings who played along with you. You don't blame them anymore. They all served their function. I was able to have an authentic experience that I wasn't Christ. Damn, that took a lot of doing. And then you can wake up to it. But if you're avoiding those doors, it's only because the ego's habitually told you, don't go there, don't go there. How many of us remember as a kid, your parents telling you, don't go there, something bad will happen? And we never thought to actually explore whether that was the case. Are you willing to explore those places? Because if you explore them in love, and remember, love allows all things, trusts all things, embraces all things, and is therefore transcendent. When you no longer resist those places, they can't touch you. That's not to say that you won't feel them, but without your resistance, there's no suffering. There's no pain.
And I have called it the ego, the false self, what I once described to you as a gnat shouting at space. That's what I'm committed to, and I'm going to protect this thing. Give up heaven to protect this useless little thing? Oh yes, you'd better believe I'll be willing to make that sacrifice. What's heaven anyway? A bunch of love stuff. A bunch of people running around in bliss, some of them without bodies, hanging out in unlimitedness, fearlessness, utter fulfillment. Who needs it? Oh, but this little gnat of mine, oh, I'm going to make it shine. There is much wisdom to look at your funny little sayings and music and things. How many times have you tried to make that little gnat shine? Everybody notice, it's shining. Please notice how great I am. I'm making my gnat shine. Listen to my whining and my complaining and my, pardon the expression, what you call the bitching, the lamenting, the great sadness. Oh, how grand my gnat is.
Well, he doesn't take our little play seriously, obviously. He doesn't take our suffering that we create in it seriously. He doesn't give it any reality at all. But he's true. We do go to protect it. And the society that we live in actually talks about defending yourself and defending your rights and You know, we even take our ideas, which, by the way, come from one creative source, and we say it's my intellectual property. And if you want to benefit from my idea, you have to pay me. We do all kinds of crazy, crazy stuff, and that's all it is. We're trying to make our gnat special. And the more gnats that look at you, by the way, if you can get your gnat on the cover of one of those grocery store magazines, wow, all of a sudden everybody wants to be like you. It's nuts we did this. We're Christ, for God's sakes, and we can pull this off. Yuck, 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 yuck. But it's really good. For those of you who have the audios of this, please listen to hear him sing, "Oh, this little gnat of mine, I'm going to make it shine." He really does it up nice. So he's talking about giving up all our bitching and all our sadness. Wake up and go, you know what, I did it all to myself. And because I could, I can stop now. I can awaken to the truth that is true now, and I don't need to drag this on any longer. But if you choose to, there's how many? 26 more lessons. Yeah, maybe 28 more lessons that he's going to take us through. Whew. A bunch of love stuff, a bunch of people running around in bliss, some of them without bodies, hanging out in unlimitedness and fearlessness, utter fulfillment. I mean, you know what? Isn't that what everybody's been striving for? He's putting it on a silver platter. He's saying, here it is. Here's everything you could ever have wanted and what you'd imagine. And then all of a sudden, no, that's not what I want. I want to keep my identity. I don't want to cease to exist as a separate being. I want to be right about my judgments. I don't want to have to surrender them. You know, how many of us have really wanted love and all of a sudden it comes running at us and it scares the shit out of us? And we go scampering back into our little prison cell.
Meanwhile, the love of God flows through a multitude of universes and creates forever even new universes. And the love of God doesn't even notice that gnat at all. No one's paying any attention. Your friends around you don't want to pay attention, although sometimes you corner them and they have no choice. But those of us without bodies, do you really actually think we waste our precious eternity taking your attempt to make the gnat shine seriously? Indeed, because we love you, we give you the space, and we honor your free will to be as little and as miserable as you wish. And we will wait until you choose to come again into the greatness in which you truly reside. We never withdraw our love from you. We simply look through your storyline, because what we wish to love is the Christ that dwells within you. What calendar day and hour will you decide to love yourself as the Father first loved you? To truly, once and for all, make the decision to live. For until you decide with and for and forever from the mind of Christ, life has not yet begun. Oh my God, that's a bit of a blow, isn't it? Look at all the experiences I've had, Jeshua. How can you tell me I haven't lived? Why, there was this drama, and then there was that drama, and that was that drama over there. Don't you remember 17 lifetimes ago when I did this, and then I did that? I struggled through that one, and I've struggled through this one. I have lived. No, you've dreamed.
We really do have a culture that says suffering gets me something. Haven't we played that in individual relationships? We get someone else to bring us the bowl of ice cream. The point is, we do this kind of thing. and we think it's going to get us something. We think our suffering is endearing us to God, is getting us the help because other people have been so mean to us. They don't even notice. Suffering gets you absolutely nothing. And if you're in a relationship where you're playing suffering gets you something with another partner, wake up. Wake up. It gets us absolutely nothing. You don't need to experience one more loss, one more frustration, one more pain, one more suffering, one more judgment. It gets us nothing. It was all part of the game to create our separateness. He'll look upon it. He'll look right through it. We did a dialogue about this a couple weeks ago called Christ Vision. How to see as Christ. And you can actually consciously begin to do that so that you can move into the experience of the actual knowingness of it. And they'll never draw their love from you. They'll say, suffer as long as you wish. You're free, you're the Christ, you're creating your own experience. Why would we want to move in and take your free will away? Because if they did, then they would lose their own free will. So it gets us nothing. It was the point of this dream. It was the point of the incarnation. So big deal. Drop it. Get over it. Stop playing the shame card. Stop playing the guilt card. Stop playing the suffering card thinking it's going to get you something. And this whole thing, God's love flows through a multitude of universes forever and is ever creating universes. You want to start to open your consciousness up to see beyond the tiny little humanity story and get just a glimpse of the scope and the scale of it and recognize how humanity itself is but a gnat. And I'm not dissing humanity, but who saw that picture on the internet this week where like a spacecraft from Saturn looked back and took a photograph of Earth? It was a barely imperceptible blue dot. Just puts a wee bit of perspective in your mind and you go, damn, wow. And I've made my tiny little life on that imperceptibly blue thing all of the universe. I wonder what might be out there if I get out of my gnatness and open into my infinite Christness. You'll be blown away. You'll be absolutely blown away. And then you'll laugh like the Buddha. You'll be like, how in the world? This is just all a big joke. And I'm not by any means saying your suffering is bad or wrong. But if you're doing it because you think it's going to get you something and it's not, you're welcome to drop it. You're welcome to be the source of your same self-love and let all of that go. And boy, we sure do want it. We're thinking, in your mind, we've all got a little thing in the back of our mind. When it comes judgment time at the pearly gates, who is it supposed to watch the pearly gates? St. Peter. St. Peter, oh yeah. It's like we start negotiating with St. Peter before we even get in. Look, I got my list of all my nice things and all these people were really bad to me. Just look, it's like we're ready to defend our gnatness rather than just wake up out of it and let it go. He talks about, I've heard a channeling of his, we played it a couple weeks ago, where he talks about our egos, our gnatness are like Halloween costumes that we temporarily put on to have this experience. So strip out of that thing, stand naked before the Creator, and recognize the truth of who we are. Sometimes we corner other people to get into bitch with us. We sometimes call this support groups. Where we get together and we find someone else who's playing the same victimhood story we are, and then we get together and we co-bitch, we co-commiserate, and we come out of there patting each other on the back thinking, wow, great, I get to share my misery with someone else who's sharing it with me. It's sick. We do this. We do this all kind of stuff all the time, and all that does is artificially legitimize the dreams that everybody's dreaming. You want to have a support group of one. I and the Father are one, and stay in that support group until you need no other groups, no other beings. But if you're in one of those, just look, is it really serving anything? It might be telling you, yeah, your story's real, and everyone else who's a victim will say, yeah, you're a victim, but by the way, I'm a bigger one. Have you ever heard we tell these victimhood one-up stories? Oh, look what happened to me. You think that's bad. Da-da-da-da-da-da. And we actually play that game like we're earning some credit if we can get someone else to recognize our suffering was worse. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. It's part of this whole crazy dream. Just wake up out of it, if you wish. So next week, we're going to conclude our deepening of Lesson 6, Love Heals All Things. So remember, love allows all things, trusts all things, embraces all things, and therefore is transcendent. You're going to come to it when you finally totally embrace your ego. Not that you push it away, not that you reform it, not that you fix it. When you totally embrace, I created ego and I did it damn well. I created it from my freedom. I suffered. I caused others to suffer. And yes, I own it and it is mine. I welcome it. I embrace it and I let it go. You won't heal judgment by judging more judgment of your judgment. It's by the love that you finally embrace the whole thing. And in that, you will have set yourself free from the guilt you feel for having played it. And then you'll be able to help set everybody else free. Because you won't take their story and go, shit, that's really bad. Oh my God, I can't believe you. People come over and I'm like, way to go. You went all in for separation and you've experienced every bit of it. Christ gives you the Academy Award. Now wake up. Get over yourself. Get over yourself. So big deal. We played the game of separation. Universe is being made all the time. They're infinite fields and houses and mansions that we're always playing in. You've come to this room, you've come to this work because your soul has said, I've had enough. I've had enough of this realm. I've had enough of time and space. I've experienced every possible suffering there is. No being, Jeshua said, I will send no being to you that has not already fully completed their time and space. There's not a one of you that has not wrung every last drop of guilt that you need to experience out of your ego sponge. But it's just a kind of a momentum thing, so you need a reminder. So I'm the Christ reminderer of the truth of what you are. And I'm beautiful. I'm so grateful that He gave us this pathway to help us with this. Whew, is this fun or what? I'm having a blast. I'm so glad you guys showed up. Any questions or comments tonight? All of you on the internet, we're getting a fabulous internet following. I don't know how any of this works. He's talking about just walking the world at Christ. We have people who watch these things all over the world. And we've not done a lick of advertising. That's just Jeshua keeps sending them, keeps somehow getting in their mind and directing them to the light. It's just the coolest thing. But no comments tonight? No questions? Yes, okay. I felt one out there. I didn't know if... Okay. That's all right. The sillier, the better. You recognize we think they're all silly.
You should put your videos on YouTube.
I should put the videos on YouTube.
Because it's such a phenomenon.
Someone else has mentioned that before too, so we'll look into that.
It would just be
I have a One Who
exponential.
Wakes YouTube channel, so we'll see.
Your Vimeo is excellent.
Vimeo is excellent. By the way, they're all on the One Who Wakes site now. All the videos are on the One Who Wakes site. All kinds of cool stuff. I got a read page with 50, 100 channelings on there. I've got 400 audios of Jeshua channeling through Paul Tuttle on there. I've got all the dialogues. I got all the Way of Mastery stuff. If you like the Lord's Prayer, I got 3 versions of the Lord's Prayer on there. So you're welcome to go to onewhowakes.org, and more of that will come. But so noted, and love will make a way for that to happen. Would you like an easy way, a simple way to quicken your experience of remembrance? You're welcome to come sit with me because I'm not going to take your story seriously. If you want someone to take your story seriously, the world has got lots of beings with letters after their name who will take it all very, very seriously. But if you're ready to wake up to the truth of who you are and you want to take your innocence seriously, you're welcome to come sit with me or Skype with me or call with me or whatever. Or have us come to do a retreat. We've done a couple. They've been fabulous. We'll be glad to travel anywhere in the world and bring all the love of creation and put on a plurk shop, more play than work. If you want a real workshop, there's plenty of those in the world too, but effortlessness is of the kingdom. That's why it's play. Love offering. When I woke up and Jeshua said, dude, you're on my play roll. It's not a payroll because I've already got all that is. I've been given the kingdom. But in the world, we still have bills to pay. This is all that this family does, is extend the light of Christ to any and every being who's willing to wake up, ready to wake up. If you're so moved, would you please check in with your inner guide? Look at what denomination they flash in your mind, add 2 zeros, and put it in the basket. And if you're watching online, you can go to onewhowakes.org, and in the upper right-hand corner is a give button, and you can click that button and make an international or U.S. donation. It'll convert all the stuff. But all seriousness, we're sustained by love, and that's your love. And we would appreciate your support of this work and this family. I didn't wake up by myself. In the depth of my being, I took the red pill from the Matrix. Those of you who have seen that, you want to go all the way down the rabbit hole. And Jeshua came in response to that. And he said, okay, if you're ready to awaken, I'll walk you home. But you need to do what I say. You don't have to do anything. But it would help you if you do what I tell you to do. If you believe what I'm telling you, rather than argue with me. Because he simply wouldn't argue, he would just disappear. I'd be yelling at myself. Trying to do my own thing. But I'm so grateful that he left us this pathway. And by the way, when this whole crazy thing got started, none of us agreed to do it unless there was a safety valve. Unless there was a way that we would not get so deep that we would never remember. So we put things like A Course in Miracles, like the Way of Mastery, like the Bhagavad Gita. We put roles in there like Jeshua, like Buddha, like others that would shake us into remembrance. Because, of course, we had to make this all very, very real and seem really, really serious with really, really dire consequences. So I'm grateful because he won't take credit for this pathway. He'll say it was our pathway and that these are our words, not his. So I'm grateful as Christ to speak our words here tonight. We love you, all of us who come in support of this work, which includes every one of your guides. They all poked you on the shoulder and said, you ought to go hear this guy. If nothing else, you'll get a good laugh out of it. We love you with an absolutely infinite love and an eternal peace that welcomes your dreams as long as you dream, but celebrates your awakening whenever you choose. Peace, beautiful blessings, and a wonderful good night. I'd love hugs on the way out. Okay, announcements real quick. We're doing a retreat in October, a playful awakening retreat. You can come and experience a weekend of truth. And you can take your bodysuit off at the door, and you can come in and try Christ on for a weekend. Not where we get together in support groups, talk about how horrible our lives is, but we actually play wakefulness to the truth. That's all the info's on the website, onewhowakes.org.